Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call this special meeting and work session of City Council of April 28th, 2026 to order. First of all, I want to welcome those who are in attendance and those who are joining us online. Councilman Scaletti is on vacation, but he's going to be joining us online as well. If you would, please stand for the invocation and pledge of allegiance by Mayor Pro Tem Michael McPhee.
If it is your custom, please join us in prayer. Father God, in the shared spaces of governments, we humbly gather seeking your divine wisdom. Guide us, O Lord, as we deliberate over the issues of our city, empowering our discernment. Illuminate our judgment and plans with your insights. May we steward this civic responsibility diligently and create a beacon city for all. With hopeful hearts, we seek your grace for better judgment, knowing that you give us wisdom beyond measure. In all we do and decide here today, may you be reflected and glorified first and foremost. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Okay, next on the agenda is employee new hire recognition. First off, in human resources. Yvette?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I wanted to introduce you to our new HR City Manager Assistant, Kenya Perdomo. Kenya is new to the area. Her and her husband relocated from Japan. They've been here almost a year. Kenya holds a degree in criminal justice and political science from the University of Maryland. And we're happy to have her.
Hey, Kenya again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome aboard. Next, from the Police Department, Chief Price. Oh, well, welcoming in Columbia. Okay. Next is Public Works. Nate?
Mayor and Council, save the best for last, right?
Yeah.
We have Craig Holland here. He came from Washington State. He got here last year in December. We're glad we were able to snatch him up fairly quickly. He comes to our general support department. He's already been doing projects in-house and some other things, helping us get through some of the backlog, secret fixes and all that. So he's already hitting the road running, and we're really glad to have him aboard.
Welcome, Craig. Yeah. Okay, before we get to public comment, I want to turn it over to Councilman McPhee for a comment.
I'd like to make a personal appeal this evening, only because I made the amendment last week referencing the adjustments on the 3% and the 4%, and I apparently was not clear enough on those adjustments. And in this evening's package, there was a little bit of an overview, which I am going to make an amendment to correct. But when I made the amendment last week with reference to the 3% in the National Historic Landmark District and 4% in the remaining neighborhoods in the city, I intended that to reflect that the individual neighborhoods outside of the National Historic Landmark District would continue to maintain their neighborhood bases of 4% caps. It was not intended that the entire city would then be under a 4% cap, which you probably recognize would put a very heavy responsibility on any neighborhood that could take the remaining 194 or capped amounts that may exist in the Mossy Oaks and outside areas of the landmark district. So I will be making an amendment to correct that. So if you are with the Realtors Association, who has had no less than 65 phone calls for me today, please know that that is being corrected in our agenda further on in the evening. Thank you.
Okay, with that, I'm going to open it up for public comment. Please keep your remarks to 5 minutes. And when you come up to the podium, please give us your name and your address. And I have a list of people who've signed up. Number one is a regular, Mr. Rob Cahill.
Soon as it opens up for me.
So this will come up later. I'm Rob Cahill, 608 Water Street. I'm going to go pretty quick since I'm going to use most, if not all, this 5 minutes. 3 comments tonight under the headings of improve council meeting productivity, 2, new fencing swings at Waterfront Park, and 3, parking at the marina. First, a quick civics lesson for those that aren't aware. The primary purpose of government meetings is to be effective. A secondary factor is to be efficient. We are not the private sector where the metric of efficiency seeks to reign supreme, but I digress. Like many of you, I have sat through 2 4-hour council meetings already this month of April. That is too many. Regardless, for optimal productivity to sustain higher energy levels, one best practice that research has proven and codified for decades, I've consulted for over 50, you should not, repeat, not conduct a meeting for more than 60 to 90 minutes without taking a break. I propose, even starting tonight, a 3-minute stay in place break after every 80 minutes of every meeting where people can stretch and perhaps even talk to a neighbor. That's 1. 2, fencing swings at Waterfront Park. Massive kudos to the staff and everyone involved in the fencing swinging benches. I played cub reporter and interviewed numerous visitors and locals this last week, maybe even 30. And people were uniformly effusive in their praise. Thank you. Related, however, regarding the frequency and placement of the no trespassing signs, I beseech the city to use better judgment. Specifically, 25 signs placed 8 to 15 yards apart is way too many. I believe half would be more than sufficient to achieve the purpose. In addition, I believe the current height of the signs are also ill-advised. Notice, they are a visual eyesore that hinders and obstructs the natural sightlines of the waterfront. I propose the city secures these no trespassing signs 6 inches from the floor. On each sign appears SC code 16-11-600A. I did my homework. And I quote, while SC code 16-11-600 requires traditional signs to be, quote, conspicuous, it does not, I repeat, not specify exact height or size dimensions for them. So there's nothing that I'm aware of that cannot get approved to reduce those like 6 inches off the ground. And I'm glad we're giving advertisement to the fence company, unless it's in the contract. Let's put that down at 6 inches. Every time I walk there, I don't want to have to look around that sign. Okay. Last, bring back the swinging benches to the promenade. Unless people are going to pole vault over those fences, they're a significant iconic part of the charm, character, and vibe of the waterfront experience. The city could even save storage costs by returning them. Last, marina parking lot. The city has announced that starting next month, the parking in the marina parking lot will no longer be free. Again, I think this decision is ill-advised. I propose the city reconsider this decision and return it to free parking for the duration of the work on the waterfront. Currently, it's my understanding that every boat slip covered by the current lease with Safe Harbor includes a window tag for free parking in accord with their lengths of stay. $8 for 8 hours, $250 for a month. To make this revenue neutral request, consider amending the current lease with Safe Harbor. I think it's a sweetheart deal. Charge slip owners a daily $8 fee, commensurate to their stay, or allow them to park free too. I think we give a whole lot away to Safe Harbor and it's cost us. So that's it. Thank you for listening. I think I beat my I'm not even going to use this. Thank you kindly.
Thank you, Mr. Cahill. Okay, next we have Gloria Kurtz. Can't give away minutes. You can't give away minutes.
Thanks, Rob, for volunteering. My name is Gloria Kurz. I'm a resident of 314 Lawrence and the Point. Also, can you hear me? We also own 315 King Street, which is an abutting property. At the March 24th work session, I had provided you all with a 4-page letter, which I've attached. Yes. I've attached to the letter I emailed you earlier today, and I'm not going to go over it. I don't want to be redundant, but those points still stand, in my opinion. What I want to address is the position relative to the point versus your position relative to purchasers of abandoned and dilapidated properties, because I think it raises some fundamental issues of fairness and equity. You've acknowledged the perceived unfairness to a limited number of purchasers of dilapidated and abandoned properties, and the fact that they've relied on existing regulations to purchase in the hopes of having STRs on those, but you've effectively remained silent about the impact the existing zoning regulations against SDRs has had in the point for people who have purchased there since 2017, when the zoning regs went into effect. And people who also took those into effect in their decision-making process when they purchased. The closest analogy that I can think of is if you are in a community that has an HOA and all of a sudden that HOA disappears, you're going to have some people that are going to be very unhappy about the fact that the protections they had were eliminated. If you are going to proceed in your efforts to remove the exemption for the point, which appears to be the direction the council has taken, in my opinion, any allowance for STRs should be limited and narrowly drawn. You could look at doing them in the core commercial district, which actually is, interestingly enough, part of the historic point, and restrict the introduction of them into the core residential area and the point. It would be very easy to accomplish. Furthermore, when you look at the new regs, and it's always interesting to get these numbers right, section 718.002S, there's no timetable for bringing a property that is purchased, that is on the abandoned and dilapidated list, into full compliance. In my opinion, that's an oversight, needs to be corrected before those regulations are adopted. There is no timetable at all set forth. Additionally, I think that you need to reverse what are now 10 and 11 there, because it's a little confusing. You've got, right now, 10 says the exemption shall apply only to the initial purchaser. 11 now says permits issued under this shall not count towards the cap. And I think if you were to reverse the order that you have those in the proposed amendment, that it would make infinitely more sense. So I provided you with proposed changes in bold to that, and respectfully request that you continue to thoroughly deliberate and consider all the issues that are still out there on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next is Jared Madison.
Thank you, Council and Mayor and staff. My name is Jared Madison, 2618 Holmes Drive, Beaver, South Carolina. I'm here to speak about the newly initiated social district, and I have deep concerns that have been echoed throughout our community with our downtown business owners. The timing of it was inconsistent with a South Carolina passed legislation that required all service industry workers to complete an alcohol awareness class that was 4 hours long. And we also had to pay for the class if we were going to be serving alcohol. So in the social district, I think the main goal was to bring more business downtown and create a socialization area. Most of the major restaurants and bars downtown are not just against it, they're adamantly opposed to it. They have signs up saying that the social district is not, they're not participating and no one is welcome there. For the particular place that I work at, we even have to police people coming on the premises. So no one is allowed on the premises. The concern I have, as well as that's been shared with me, is that who's monitoring alcohol consumption? Because one of the main points of our classes was that we're supposed to count how many drinks someone has based on their height and weight. So the example would be, let's say that I walked into a place that was serving alcohol. I got a beer from, I think Hop Doctor was a place. I just went to my car. I could pour however much vodka into there and then go to the next place. So in South Carolina, because of how the laws are, South Carolina, you're able to pass on accountability to the business, which means that if I were to get into my car at that point and wreck and kill somebody or hurt somebody, I could sue every business that I was on camera with that cup in. I don't think that's fair to the businesses, and it's not fair to the workers, because again, when they come into a restaurant, let's say that I work in, and they're intoxicated, I have to refuse them service right away, and they can't even be on the premises. So my question is, who's protecting the business owners and the workers if they get sued? And I think that we are so community oriented, and that's why I love living here at this point in my life. I think that we need to protect those workers and also owners and reevaluate the social district and also get those stakeholder inputs. Because from my knowledge, I believe that government should work for the people in the sense of the people recommend the changes and the progress and the innovative ideas that they see best fit, and the government and the staff just evaluate and execute those ideas from the people. And I think that there was a missing line between what the community and the business owners wanted and what's been executed. Thank you.
Thank you, Jared. Okay, next is Joe Mack.
Good evening, city council members. Joe Mack, 1809 Boundary Street. Thank you all for the job you do. I know you try your best. These comments, I speak as a resident of City of Beaufort, business in the City of Beaufort. These comments are about the new Downtown Advisory Committee. I have a small complaint about it. It's so minor, you could call it a concern, two-part concern, and probably half of it is my fault. So I did apply for that committee. And 2 days ago on Sunday, I looked at the agenda and didn't see my name to be interviewed. And I applied online using this. And the last button you hit is probably something called submit or, apply or whatever. Didn't have any hiccups, didn't notice nothing. Long story short with that, not much of a story. I contacted Tracy Goldner with the city on yesterday. I have always seen her very helpful. She's always helpful, nothing against her. She told me that I do not qualify to be on the committee. That you have your criteria. So the first part is they never got the application. She told me first she told me I didn't qualify, then she told me she looked in her folder and these things aren't perfect. I don't know. So anyway, so then she told me that she never got the application. And then I contacted Mr. Jared Madison, who applied. And I asked him, did he get a kickback email saying, hey, here's your confirmation that you applied? He said, yeah. I said, oh no, because as soon as I didn't see my name, I looked through my email to see if I got one, didn't find it. And the second part of the concern is, I looked through the resolution before I contacted Ms. Tracy Goldner, and downtown Beaufort is not defined anywhere in that thing that you all passed on February 10th as a council. So downtown, it can mean different things to different people. That you didn't amend it or make it defined. I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense. I'm not being critical, but downtown could be, Rebo Road to Carteret, Bay Street, the Boundary. It could be the core down there at the waterfront, those businesses on Bay Street. And then that got that less fun stuff out the way. So I'd like to talk about Portland, Oregon. So when I lived in Portland in the 90s, I went to every grade of school growing up in Beaufort. If it wasn't in Beaufort, it was, 5-10 minute drive from Beaufort. And then, I was in my 20s, I left. I jumped up and down when I got the offer. I said, I'm gone. I'm finally getting out of Beaufort, y'all. And, you come back, right? So what I remember from living there, and you can't do this, a minute, and you can't, if you lived 40 years in Beaufort, what would you tell somebody in less than 5 minutes, or 6 years in this town? So what I remember from Portland, I remember when I lived there, they said it was short blocks. And I biked everywhere, didn't have a car, didn't have a driver's license. The mayor of Portland didn't have a driver's license either, but she did not bike, she rode the city bus. But what I like to tell you about those city blocks is they were 200 feet by 200 feet. And the story was they wanted as many corners as they could because it was more profitable. And maybe the people who were laying it out, they got the profit. And so this morning, I went down to Bay Street and I went to those 3 blocks, where George O'Kelly's office was, between Carteret, Scott, West, and Charles, all on the north side of the road. I wanted to see what size was. And I was guessing 150. I thought they were going to be smaller than Portland. I was completely shocked. I was like, this can't be right. And guess what? I couldn't figure it out with my GPS, my watch. I gave up. I said, I went to somebody, that's what they do for a living. Took them about 20, should have timed them. Took them about 20 seconds to get the numbers up on his screen. He blah, 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 blah. And good Lord, you're on get in my time, buddy. And the numbers are shocking. So the city of Portland's blocks, I don't know buildings. Might not be new to some of y'all, but these blocks are actually bigger than the city of Portland. And see, the thing about Portland was downtown, and almost the whole city, but specifically downtown, is very walkable. Downtown Beaufort, very walkable. And the 3 blocks, they're not, I just leave y'all with this, that the 3 blocks turned out to be, Bay Street slants up when you get past the first block. And the biggest one is the first one with Carteret to Scott. And it was actually, you want the actual numbers, it's roughly 300 by 250, minus a few feet. But I was shocked. I was guessing 150. And then, of course, the depths, all 3 of those blocks all the numbers are different. Some cities are symmetrical. Savannah is a little bit bigger than Portland. And of course, New York City, we're very, very wide rectangles, 900 feet wide. And I would just leave this with y'all, make up for that phone call. The sports and the recreation, Beaufort's ready. So we ask you to look after your people. They're your people. So please, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Joe Mac. All right, next we have Victoria Letty.
Hi, I'm Victoria Letty. I live at 25 Sam's Point Road. I am unemployed downtown. And I have 2 points tonight. The first one is parking downtown. So the South Carolina Attorney General stated that getting a third-party company to ticket to use police powers is illegal. That's one thing. The second thing is Park Mobile, they make it very difficult for the downtown employees to pay for parking to get to the meter. I can't run to a meter when I'm in the middle of running, serving. I can't. So if we could find a way to make downtown parking better, specifically for employees downtown, I think that would be amazing. The other point that I have, it is about the social district downtown. I know it's already been touched a little bit, but it does add a lot of liability to the restaurants. Like what was stated, a lot of restaurants are not agreeing with it. It makes it really hard to look after our community when people are running around with a beer or vodka, soda in their hand, and it makes it really hard to keep downtown safe. And I hope we can move to make parking better downtown. I hope we can try to keep Beaufort safe and just keep doing the best we can. Thank you for your time, Councilman and Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, that's all I have that have signed up. Is anyone else in the audience who came in late and want to speak? Okay, hearing none, we're going to move on. Yep, okay. Mr. Russell?
Hi, Dave Russell, 411 Craven Street. I want to commend council as you've worked through the short-term rental issue. And look, I think perfection is the enemy of good. I don't think, probably most people would say this is not, at least what's proposed, the STR regulation is perfect. And everyone will have different reasons why it's not perfect. But I think it's gotten to a good to very good point where it's addressing a lot of concerns in the city. And I think it's come to a rational outcome. I think looking at the draft ordinance, there were some items in there that we've talked about in the past that were not in the draft ordinance. So grandfathering existing properties, having those grandfather properties part of the cap, restrictions on transfer of licenses except on inheritance. And I think also, I think there was discussion at the last meeting about allowable parcels in the rest of the city being the denominator, if you will, for the caps, but I think it should also be extended to the landmark district. But again, appreciate all the work that's went into this, and hopefully we can move on to other important business. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I get my 50 seconds?
You're really only supposed to speak once, but
Is that a no?
how long do you think it's going to take?
45 seconds max.
Okay, since you didn't use up all your time, I'll allow you to finish up, but make it if you can do it under 30 seconds.
Oh,
it'd be
yeah,
better.
it's gonna be last. So I was a proponent from the social district from the start. And why? Because I was delighted to see staff and others thinking, how can we make Beaufort more vibrant? And so one of the provisos was, this is a pilot, and the pilot lasts longer than 3 days. I cannot believe the impatience of people deciding it's like sine die after 3 days. I think the signage is exquisite. The staff and lenders have, it's marvelous. Let's get some data rather than, fear works. We know fear works. Let's get some real data. Give it a chance and then make a decision based on some data. Thank you.
And it does have 90 days, and then we'll reevaluate on that. Anyone else? Okay, moving on. We're going to go to old business. This is an ordinance amending Part 7 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Beaufort, South Carolina, Section 3.6.2.c.2 of the Beaufort Development Code to adopt provisions regarding short-term rentals. This is second and final reading. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
And a second? Okay, and a second. Okay, any discussion?
I'd like to propose an amendment. I'd like to propose an amendment to section 7-18002, section A regarding the limitations on numbers of STRs to clarify in number 1 that no more than 4% of the allowable parcels within designated neighborhoods in the city of Beaufort outside of the National Historic Landmark District, counting the zoning districts of T3S, T3N, T4HN, T4N, T5UC may be STRs.
Second.
Okay, motion and second.
Which is what I said
All in-
last week.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Do we have Councilman?
Aye.
Scott?
Thank you.
Was that you, Josh?
That's me.
Okay, good. All right. Now going back to the original ordinance, do I have a motion to approve the amended ordinance?
So moved.
But I have other amendments.
We've got some more amendments
Well, there's
first.
Have more amendments?
I have more amendments.
Okay, sorry.
Withdraw that?
Withdraw.
Thank you.
We're doing one at a
Mayor,
time.
I'd like to, this is all within special exceptions. I think everybody will understand what this is coming from. I think Mr. Russell just referenced half of it. Under section S, converted to special exceptions, number 1 would be referencing the abandoned and dilapidated property purchase incentive. I accentuate that this is an incentive. Notwithstanding the caps established in this section, a short-term rental permit may be issued to a purchaser of a property that was identified by the city of Beaufort on the official abandoned and dilapidated property list anytime between September 1st of 2025 and May 12th of 2026. and was acquired by the current owner during that same period of time and has been brought into full compliance with all applicable building safety and zoning requirements following acquisition, and has received a certificate of occupancy for final inspection approval. Section 5 would indicate that this exemption provides herein shall apply only to the initial purchaser who habilitated the property and shall not run with the land. Any subsequent conveyance of the property shall be subject to short-term rental rules of all applicable caps and regulations in effect at the time. Section 6 of the permits issued under this subsection shall not count towards the cap established herein. Number 2, inheritance exception. A transfer of interest in property by an inheritance has a one-time exemption of conveyance. The party inheriting an STR licensed property may continue operating as an STR as long as all rules and regulations herein required are maintained. Any subsequent transfer through inheritance would have to meet requirements of the new STR license. There would be no grandfathering beyond the first inheritance. Number 3, grandfathered multiple STR exception. Special exception for multiple STRs per parcel. The appropriated designated review body may grant a special exception to allow more than one STR per parcel upon application and public hearing, providing the applicant demonstrates that the multiple STRs were lawfully established and operated or permitted prior to the effective date of this amendment. The property was purchased or developed with reasonable reliance on the ability to maintain multiple STRs, e.g., based on prior approvals, site plans, or vested rights. And Section 3, granting the exception will not materially undermine the purposes of the citywide cap, adjacency requirements, or neighborhood character. The special exception shall be subject to such conditions as the reviewing body deems necessary to mitigate impacts. That is my amendment.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it. I'd just like to get a clarification.
Go for it.
Okay, on, I don't know what section it was in, but these will count towards the cap?
Which one?
The exceptions, they do count towards the cap, correct?
The dilapidated does not. It is an incentive and does not count against the
So
cap.
they can do it, take a,
If they take an abandoned and dilapidated property off of the abandoned and dilapidated rolls, it does not count against the caps
I feel like it should.
or the original intent. It was in the original ordinance.
Okay, I mean, they could take it, in the northwest
It's supposed-
quadrant or
it's
the old
supposed to
point.
be
and
an
do it.
incentive. You can't, if it has to count against the caps and you're in a, now think about this. Debilitated abandoned property is in what district of the city?
Mostly the northwest,
It's in the historic district.
right?
And the historic district is capped. So
Well-
if you can't do this if you don't
Well, they could do
accept
it
the
for,
cap.
well, they could do it for, long-term rental.
This isn't the long-term rental.
I know,
ordinance.
but I mean, I'm just a little bit, that incentive I don't like.
Mike,
Yes,
real
sir.
quick. So maybe I didn't hear correctly. The amendment passed previously would have allowed for protection for those who had purchased vacant and dilapidated properties prior to the adoption of this ordinance. Is the amendment that you made one that provides a future path for an investor to purchase vacant, dilapidated properties even after the adoption of this short-term rental ordinance to rehabilitate and then get a permit that doesn't count towards the cap to operate in that capacity?
It does not, and the reason that it doesn't was because the rationale was that this was intended to provide for those people that had, under the existing ordinance, purchased property in an attempt to rehabilitate it and take it off of the abandoned and dilapidated. Going forward, anybody purchasing would know what restrictions would exist for them to putting it into place under STR. I'm not saying we couldn't come back and adjust that if we have that many, but given the number in our abandoned and dilapidated list, it probably isn't that cogent.
Okay, I misunderstood. I thought it was going forward that anybody could purchase the property, which I'd be
The
against
date I
that.
used was May 12th on here from the standpoint of
Okay.
acquisition because that was the original date.
Right.
And I forgot to change it. So it would really be today's date.
Didn't we have a specific date range associated with that too, like from
Yes.
September of last year to April?
To May 12th of
Yeah,
this
this
year,
year.
but
Right.
it's saying if we pass this ordinance, it would take effect
Right.
Today.
today.
Which, real quick, I think that there may be value in going a little bit further back, but keeping the May date the same, or actually it would be April
Right.
28th date the same, but just backing it up, even if it's January of 25. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Yeah, when I read those dates, I thought about that too. That seemed like a pretty short window for someone to take a dilapidated property, improve it, market it and so forth and so on. So I don't recall what the original date was that we discussed, but when I read that date range, my perception would seem pretty narrow.
It was September of 25, I think, up till May 12th.
Yeah, that's not even a year. For someone
And
to-
so what we could do is if we backed up to say January of 25, if they purchased it from January of 25 to April of 28, then they could use it as if they restored it, they could use it as a short-term rental. But then to the speaker's point earlier about having a time frame by which they had to rehabilitate it. So if that's a 12-month period or whatever seems to be most appropriate there, but factor that into the language as well.
An amendment on an amendment?
Yeah, it'd be an amendment on an amendment. You want to reframe the amendment?
We can do that.
Since you've got it written down, I can't remember all that, so.
So Josh, could you repeat the range that you're recommending?
January
Sure.
1st of 2025?
January 1st of 2025 to April 28th of 2026, and then call it a 12-month period of time by which they have to rehabilitate and be eligible for a short-term rental.
When does the 12 months start?
Today.
That was,
Oh, no,
that
it
was a
was-
question.
It-
When would we have the 12 months starting?
I guess you could either do it today or you could do it at the time they purchased. I'm really not sure what the best answer would be there.
Well, I think the intent was, I think his name was Ethan that brought this question to our attention, was that he had purchased a property with intent to make it a short-term rental. He had already made an investment in that. So it's not to protect people going forward, it's protect folks who are already invested. So
Yep.
the date should go back and then we should give him enough time forward for him to complete his project.
That's right.
It would make sense to me to start the time today.
Right, and it was referenced earlier, and Josh is qualifying it, that we don't have in the ordinance. We haven't put a time frame by which those renovations would be done. So we're given the date of, say, January 1st of 2025 until April 28th today. But with reference to the rehabilitation of the property, it does not indicate what kind of time frame they need to have that done to still qualify.
Okay.
And that's what he was trying to make an amendment and what Ms. Curtis was trying to make a reference to. And I think a 12-month period from the adoption of this ordinance would be appropriate. Will have given more than a year's time for the people that purchased in September, and it will give a 12-month period from the time of people that would have closed as
I'm-
recently as this.
I'm
month.
good with that.
And you-
I am as well.
You're okay? Everybody all right with that? So I'll
Okay.
adjust.
Can I get a second on that amendment?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay. All right. Is that it?
I have one other question.
You do an amendment, I'll shoot you.
That's just a question. We'll see if it evolves into an amendment. So in terms of the inheritance grandfathering, could you repeat what you said about that?
Okay. For inheritance exception, a transfer of interest in property by an inheritance has a one-time exemption of conveyance. The party inheriting an STR licensed property may continue operating as an STR as long as all rules and regulations are adhered to. Any subsequent transfer through inheritance, meaning that the person that inherited it died, that's the subsequent transfer of inheritance, would need to meet the requirements for a new SDR license. There would be no grandfathering on the second inheritance.
Because
So,
I would
but-
like it to exclude corporations. What if a corporate,
No, I just want to finish, follow up
Yeah,
on
I'm
my
sorry.
question, Neil, just a second.
I
So,
think your corporation can inherit property.
my, Council Mitchell wanted to,
yeah, so just to make sure I understand this, so, the person having the SDR passes away. Their children or child inherited it. So
Anybody, it doesn't have to be it can be anybody.
it has to be a relative to, well, whoever whoever they put in their will to inherit it, let's put it that way. Okay, so,
Not have my property.
so after that person passes away, then they have to,
It could not convey, it would only be a one-time exemption for an inheritance. We feel like that's reasonable from the standpoint of the timeframes, that you can make adjustments on a property so that whoever inherited it can continue to operate it, but if they choose to sell and it conveys, and it falls under the conveyance rules of the SDR,
but if they pass it on to their children,
they will still have to qualify by the,
they'd have to qualify, but they would still be allowed to operate the
No.
SDR.
only if only if it was available from a cap standpoint and rules and
Get
regulations.
a one-time.
I struggle with that because that's part of a family's wealth. And to say that because that person dies, that their offsprings can't keep that property without the risk of losing it, may force a hardship. I struggle with that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a short-term rental though. They can rent it longer than 30 days.
Well, I understand that, but I mean, it's a short-term rental. That's what it's designed. They met the cap. They've met the qualifications. What if that person lived for 200 years? You wouldn't do that. And I mean, I know that's hypothetical, but it's part of that family's wealth. And
Councilman McPhee, okay, I'm sorry, are you done?
yeah, I'm done.
Okay, so the problem I have is suppose they made a deal that with a corporation or LLC that once they pass, it goes to the LLC. That LLC can go forever. I mean, it needs to go to an individual, not a corporation.
I agree with that. That
I am not an estate attorney, so I'm not
I'm
going
not
to
an
try to
estate
answer this
attorney.
question. But I do not believe that the intent was for an LLC to bequeath a property to another LLC, if that's what you're saying.
No, I'm saying the person makes a deal before they pass away that they're gonna leave it to them, that they basically bought the short-term rental from them upon their death, so they leave it in their will to the person, to the LLC. That LLC can go on forever.
I think,
It should be to an individual.
do we have any attorneys in the audience can answer whether or not an LLC can be bequeathed on a will?
I thought we had excluded all those
I'm-
things.
I'm not an attorney, but I'm almost sure they can be.
Dave and Nancy they can pass on.
So, I mean, I would like it to say to an individual, the wording to say to an individual. You know, it can go to an individual or group of individuals bequeathed to, but not to an LLC. I'm just worried that somebody get hold of it and the corporation now owns it.
That's not legally sustainable. I mean, you know.
But if it's a corporation, you're giving it to basically, they make a deal to get it, and this is hypothetical, but it could happen.
Have a suggested amendment to that?
So
This excludes LLCs and corporations?
Yeah, that,
I think that's already in
it was in
Well,
there
it's in here,
somewhere.
but it's not about the inheritance.
Right, for the inheritance, it should be, I feel.
And define the verbiage.
yeah, I would like to have an amendment to your amendment.
I'm just scared that somebody gets it and that they control it for forever, pretty much.
Yeah, I think the LLC portion was excluded. I can't find it right now, but I'm pretty sure we had excluded the LLC. Scott, do you chime in on that as to whether we had excluded LLCs? I thought we had.
I can only go by the plain language that's in the ordinance in front of you, Councilman. I can't really offer anything further.
See it.
I do not think that the intent was to ban LLCs from owning short-term rentals. The property would still be subjected to the requirements that we have in this ordinance. So I'm not sure why we would go further and restrict it to the point of not allowing an LLC under any condition to inherit a property.
Under conveyance, it indicates that an accessible transfer of interest, which is an ATI in real estate, triggering an appraisal and reassessment for taxation purposes is defined in the South Carolina Code of 1237-3150. And we asked the city attorney about corporate transfers. He had concerns that a corporation could be wholly purchased by a corporation and it would not generate an assumable transfer of interest. But in Beaufort County, if you have a transfer of interest which has remuneration, any amount of dollar sign associated with the transfer, that triggers an ATI. I'm not an attorney, but this is what they told me, so. The conveyance section should cover for the triggering of the appraisal and the reassessment.
Page are you on? What page are you on?
Leaving it in according to state law, whatever it says.
No.
Have to, I think.
An LLC is a limited liability corporation, and the members of the limited liability corporation have a general partner, a managing partner usually. And they are designated and notified through the South Carolina Secretary of State as to whom that person is with reference to the ownership. I
Technically,
do not know how an LLC conveys by will, because there are individual members that belong to the LLC.
LLC can go
Deficit,
forever.
Death of a member within that LLC would trigger some form of realignment in that LLC. Now,
I don't think it,
once again, I'm not an
I'm
attorney.
not an attorney either, but I think it would trigger, or would not trigger anything that you could just transfer. I sell my LLC to you.
That
It's
LLC,
the same.
that LLC
It'd go on forever.
incur another member, but
Well, Dave, you know something about this, you and Nancy?
Obviously, you have a majority interest in over really well, so the actual structure doesn't transfer. Ownership doesn't. Ownership does. But I think, a lot of people who inherit property are going to want to put it in an LLC for liability purposes.
Right.
I would,
Or trust. Yeah.
or something to shield from liability.
and I can also share through the National Association of Realtors and through the legal aspects of the Realtor Association that there is a movement afoot referencing FinCEN, which is related to the Financial Crimes Network, which indicates that if you convey property through an LLC, you have to notify and share who the owners of the property are. It's currently being challenged by either the Attorney General's office or one of the Department of Justice's. So at this point, when we have transfer of properties with a LLC, we do not have to identify who the owners of the LLC are to protect the Financial Crimes Network. But that is probably only a short-lived situation because the intent of that was to be able to disclose exactly who owned LLC properties in order to correct and curb money laundering. And that up until about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, our closing attorneys and the realtors were informed by the National Association of Realtors that we had to fill out a form indicating who the LLC was owned by. Currently on stay.
Okay, so we're going to vote on the as amended ordinance. Correct, because we
But
passed.
you
your
need-
amendment.
There are
Have to
2
go back
points
to-
of conversation here.
Yeah.
I didn't amend anything. I didn't make a.
He didn't make an amendment.
Okay.
Mitch, did you make an amendment?
I'll withdraw mine.
Okay. So Mike, we've already voted on your amendment.
This, the 4%. Yeah, we've already voted on that.
Some
This,
of the others
We're
we've
back to
also
the,
voted on now.
back to the main
Voted on
amendment.
this.
Okay. All right, on the amended motion that's before us, all in favor?
Excuse me, our clerk wants to make a
He wrote it down, yeah.
we haven't voted on it
Haven't
yet.
voted on it yet.
That's where we are.
This is where we are now.
He started to vote on the amended ordinance, but I said I had another amendment. So that's where the confusion came in.
as of yet.
He had
Unless
three
somebody
under the
else-
Second Amendment.
There's three elements of the Second Amendment because it's all under special exceptions.
So I'm going to call the question. All in favor of the amendment by Councilman McPhee, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, ayes have it. All right, now, going back to the original motion as amended. All in
Oh,
favor, signify.
Is there a motion, any other motions? Did Councilman Scaletti have anything?
Councilman Scaletti, you have any
Think-
other motions?
He's already.
I think he's good. I think we
Okay.
talked about it, but
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Now, going back to the original ordinance as amended, all in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
aye.
Okay,
Aye.
Okay, ayes have it,
And it's unanimous.
unanimous.
hallelujah.
Okay, ordinance passed. Okay, now we're going to move into our work session. We're going to do boards, commissions, and committees applicant interviews. I'm going to start off going down the list here with the Cultural District Advisory Board, Mary Lurie and Mitzi McClure. Are they here?
Should we take,
Thanks, everyone, for
should we
coming.
take a 5-minute break?
Mr.
Mr. Canning?
It's not 80 minutes.
I was giving the residents that didn't want to stay for the interviews an opportunity to leave.
Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute recess just so people can leave and get settled. Okay, we're going to reconvene. We're going to be doing boards, commissions, and committees. And first up is Mary Lurie and Mitzi McClure for their Cultural District Advisory Board. So I'm going to start on my right. Councilman Mitchell, do you have any questions you wish to ask of the candidates? We'll have you all both, each one of you talk and answer questions from council. Councilman Scaletti, are you there?
Yes, sir, I am here.
Okay. Chime in if you have any questions. I'll
Okay,
defer to you
thank you.
first since you're away.
I'm actually going to try to not ask questions of the individual applicants just for the ease of process since I'm doing it via Zoom, but I appreciate it. And if I have something that I would like to chime in, I'll try to let you know.
Okay, sounds good. All right, Councilman Mitchell.
Yeah, I'd like to maybe have each of the applicants just make some general comments about why, they're applying for this position. And maybe we'll go from there. First, and thank you very much for applying too.
Yes, absolutely. I'm Mary Lurie. I work at the University of South Carolina, Beaufort. And my interest really stems from having worked at two cultural institutions in other states and then moved here to Beaufort to make it my home, to work at the university and to transition into retirement at some point. But really, it's working for those cultural and performing arts institutions that gave me a real love for and appreciation for what it does for our local economy, what it's able to do for nonprofits and the arts and cultural districts that really depend on that money to make their, livelihood and to keep many people employed, and most critically, artists in both the performing and historical and artistic fine arts areas. So that's really where my interest comes from.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
I thank everyone for the opportunity to apply and become a part of this community. And I am actually currently serving on the committee. And this was my first foray into a volunteer position like this. And it has been wonderful. I couldn't believe it when Tracy emailed me and said, you've been on years and you need to reapply. And I was thinking, really, it just seems like it was yesterday. My colleagues on the committee are super and dynamic. When I first was appointed, I'm a member at large, and I live in the point on Craven Street, so I live, eat, breathe downtown and the art. And Bonnie said, I think we need to do more. We've done this bench project, and it's wonderful, but I want us to have an art show. And we've spent 2 years, I can't believe it, but Lisa's here, we spent 2 years planning this, and it's happening this weekend. I was hoping I see one of my neighbors still there, I was gonna say, let's come, and support this wonderful project that we've been working so hard on. And I really want to see this project come to fruition, and I'd like another term so that I can see what we did right, what we can improve on, and to make it, I think I have a vision that this can be a really great part of our community and a really great addition to the case.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate both of your enthusiasm for you being on the board and you wanting to be on the board. So, thank you. I have no other questions.
You have any questions?
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your willingness to serve and be a part. You both would bring a lot to the depth of the commission, so we appreciate it very much.
Yeah, and I want to thank you both as well for offering to serve on the committee. I think y'all are doing some good things and looking forward to some better things.
Also, I want to thank you also for your willingness to serve. I know it takes time and it's really appreciated.
Any other questions?
And I'm sure the Taste of the Arts is going to be a success beyond belief, so.
I think I'm worried about one thing that
The
I
weather.
can't
The weather.
Weather. Yeah.
I just looked at it, it's 96% chance of rain, so.
If we didn't need the rain so bad, but you do have a tent. So That'll be good. Super. Thank you.
Well, if there's no other questions, thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Giving us a chance to see you. Okay, next we're going to do the Historic District Review Board. We have Richard Drake. He's the only one here. Richard, you just want to get up and just basically give us a little overview of yourself and why you think you're qualified to be on the.
I'm Richard Drake, and I'm applying because I own a property in the historic area, and I want to become part of the development and the future of it. I've been in Beaufort for 30-some years. I don't want to. 30-some years. And was in the hospitality industry for 30-some years again, and I'm a contractor in Beaufort for the last 20.
Thank you. Any questions? Well, we have your.
It got off easy.
Yeah, we have your information. So thank you, Richard, for.
Thank you
filling
very
out that.
much. Appreciate it.
Gives us a chance to meet all the candidates. Okay, next is the Planning Commission. We have Bill Burdenwhopper and William Suter. Get you both at one time, get you out of here so you can go have.
Sort of a joint, it's sort of a joint thing.
Sure. Okay, just briefly tell us, I know y'all both served on it, so tell us how it went, I guess, real briefly, and then what you hope to do
Sure,
going forward.
Mr. Mayor and members of the council, thank you. So I came to this position from 40 years as a land use zoning and development attorney, and I thought that background and experience would be of particular use to have at least one member that, had that kind of in-depth background, since we don't have a city attorney that serves, us in our meetings. And, there are constitutional issues, due process, equal protection, constitutional takings issues that really underlie every decision we make on code recommendations to you all. So now we spent 2 years. Bill and I got short straws. And so some of them got 3-year terms, some got 4-year terms. We got the 2-year terms. And we spent those 2 years working really intensively on these code updates. It's taken a lot of work, two meetings a month, oftentimes, 3 or 4 hours at a time, and at least equal that amount of time in background getting prepared for those meetings. And so as we're sort of winding that up, I look at it as though it's, another term would be an opportunity to see how those rules and regulations that we're writing and recommending to you, and as you decide to adopt them, it would be nice to start applying those. And because as we're doing it right now, every new case that comes in, the applicant's coming oftentimes under an old code, but we're thinking new code. And we're thinking, well, if we don't decide tonight, that application under the old code, is that going to be under the new code? And it gets really complicated. And we look forward to looking at those applications under the totality of what you ultimately decide based on what we recommend. Plus, the last thing I'd just say is we're about to embark on a comp plan review, and I've had a lot of experience in that, and I've shared with you some of my ideas on that. And I think that I honestly look forward to the opportunity to be able to work on that. I hope I do have that opportunity.
Very important. Bill?
I came to the Planning Commission by way of the Design Review Board, and then we, melded into the Planning Commission. And as Bill said, we've been working on our primary responsibility over the last 2 years of the ordinance reviews. And we've developed this phrase, low country vernacular in our code thinking, so that we maintain that Beaufort Southern look to our city. I would like to stay on the Planning Commission to see, as Bill is also saying, let's see how our review of the code apply to the new projects coming into town, into the city. Also, as part of the Planning Commission, I've been was asked to join the Waterfront Commission, and I'd like to stay on that. I'm very much interested in what we're doing with the waterfront and how we're going to re-up the waterfront. I have an engineering degree, and I'm very curious and interested as to how we're going to engineer this so that it lasts for an extended period of time. And I think I can contribute to that discussion from that standpoint.
Any other questions for the group?
I want to say thank you to both Bill and Bill. And you got a chance on Friday. I won't be there.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, thank you too, and I know y'all spend as much time in your meetings as we do in ours, so.
Oh, yeah. You should go talk to my wife about it.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot.
I just want to pile on and say thanks. I'm familiar with what you're doing, and I know you work very hard at it. I don't know whether it's a love or just determined to be successful, but thank you kindly.
All right, it's been our pleasure.
Thank you both. Appreciate it. Okay, next we're going to go to the Tourism Development Board or Advisory Board. Lily Moss, Randy Novick, Suzanne Ram, and is it Ram or Ram? Ram, okay, and then Alan Thurridge. Y'all can just all stand up around one another. Just trade microphones. Okay, since this is, we've restarted this Tourism Advisory Board, if you just tell us a little bit about yourselves and why you want to be on the Development Board, that'd be great. I mean, the Tourism Development Board.
Sure. I'm Suzanne Ram. My husband Chris and I have bought the Comfort House and done the renovation. My understanding is you're looking for someone in the hospitality business, to join this. I have extensive background in nonprofits. I've served on boards from the Humane Society to hospice to homeless shelters to soup kitchens, everything in between. And so I have quite a bit of experience on that side, and that's who we will be interviewing to determine the funds, how they will be appropriated to the various nonprofits in town. So I would like to be involved in that and learn more about the various nonprofits here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. My name is Randy Novick. I have been on the TDAC committee for a term, and I really enjoyed that experience, and it gave me a great opportunity to give back to the community. The reason I was interested in being on this committee in the first place is I spent my career in marketing, media, and advertising up in New York, and many of my clients over the years were in the tourism sector. From tourism boards like New York City, Israel, India, Aruba, to hotels like the Waldorf, to airlines like British Airways. I was very immersed in the tourism sector for over 30 years. And I felt that it was a great background and opportunity for me to help the committee evaluate the proposals and the grant opportunities for the nonprofits in the tourism sector. It's been very rewarding for me personally because I feel like it was my way of leveraging my background and giving back to the community that I now call my home. We moved here 4.5 years ago, and it's been a great experience. And I would love to continue to help drive tourism and economic development to the community.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good evening, council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. My name is Alan Etheridge. I live in Salem Bay. I've lived here 2.5 years. I'm going to need more than 5 minutes on the clock because I can talk to you forever about my career. I am a recently retired National Park Service superintendent. I did 32 years with the National Park Service, managing national parks from Arizona, Texas, and I retired out of Tennessee, but I've worked at dozens of parks all across the country. I have an entire career in public service, and I enjoy it thoroughly. And even though I'm retired, I'm looking to give back to my community again. Part of my job as superintendent in a national park was to evaluate the concession tax that was charged. If many of you have traveled to national parks, stayed at hotels, bought food, paid for gas. Part of those fees actually come back to each individual national park. And it was part of my job and my team's job to make sure that that percentage of sales actually was applied directly to the criteria and the mission of that individual park to maintain its character and preserve its cultural and natural resources. So I have a depth of background in that, and I would like to be able to bring that to the committee as well.
Thank you very much.
Hi, thank you so much for your time and for allowing me to stand in front of you today. My name is Lily Moss. Um, my experience in hospitality and why I'm interested in being on the Tourism Development Advisory Committee is I've been with IHG and Kimpton Hotels for close to 20 years. I grew up in Beaufort and left about 20 years ago to start my career in DC and have moved through the ranks in the hospitality industry. Currently, I'm Director of Openings for our luxury and lifestyle brands in the East, as well as Mexico, the Caribbean, and South America. And so I have the opportunity to see how hospitality and tourism shows up in a lot of different markets. I know from experience what a great place Beaufort is to live. And I've also gotten to hear other people talk about what a great place Beaufort is to visit while I've lived across the country. Moving back here about a year ago, I now work remotely. I'm very eager to get involved in the community and find a way that my current experience can play a role in continuing to help Beaufort grow, not only as a great place for tourists to come, but a great place to live as well. I very firmly believe that what makes us attractive to others to visit is if they see that this is an authentically great place to live and for people to be. And I think that the way we allocate the ATAX dollars in this community very much determines the way that we live here and the way that we show up when we have the opportunity to market ourselves out to the rest of the country and the world. So I really hope to have the opportunity to serve on this committee and to give back a little to Beaufort, how much it's given to me over the last many, many years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the group? I just want to thank y'all too for applying for this. That y'all have a tough job trying to divvy up that ATAX money. So
For sure.
it's a tough job every year. But thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Zoning Board of Appeals, Zachary Graber. We know
Hi.
your mother and father.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I just wanted to put myself forward because I grew up in Port Royal, amazing childhood, left for college, saw the country, lived in probably 10 cities over the course of that period. And 2 years ago, I moved back with my wife and my son. And I was always struck by how none of these cities I lived in ever held a candle to Beaufort. And I couldn't ever figure out why. And I traveled around living in all these places. And I came back and realized that the continuity that we've been able to establish over the years is because of codes and sticking to them and holding people's feet to the fire and not bending under the will of people. And it's made Beaufort a wonderful place, and it continues to be a wonderful place. And I'm back, and I want to serve the community and help out. And I think this is a great place for me to do it. I will say, I don't have any board experience. I don't have any relatable zoning experience, but I do have a passion for this place. I want to make it better, and I want it to continue to remain the beautiful place I grew up in and came to love.
Thank you. Any questions for Zachary? Thank you very much, Zachary. Appreciate it. Okay, next is the big one, the Downtown Advisory Board. We have Kevin Kupia, Jared Madison, George Euler, and Chris Ram, and Peggy Simmer, and Brenda Litchfield. Big crowd. You want to just leave them sitting down and they can just stand up when you speak, I guess, would be the easiest thing. Okay.
Mayor, council staff, thank you for having me. My name is Jared Madison. So I applied to be on the Downtown Advisory Board because Beaufort, one reason is for my passion for Beaufort and my level of care that I have for it. It raised me, and I think that I have a responsibility now to be one of its caretakers. There's a lot of passion behind that. It's like when you have your parents and your parents bring you up, when your parents start getting older, now it's your responsibility to make sure that they have a well-balanced life as much as you can. And that's one of the major reasons I believe that I should be a part of this advisory board. I also work downtown and live in Beaufort too.
Thank you. George, you want to go next? Kevin, you and Peggy, we'll get y'all.
My name is George Ayler. I'm really interested in the Downtown Advisory Board because I think the conflict we're having with the social zone we could have addressed those things through the advisory board. And that's a disappointment that we didn't have this before. My background, as far as Beaufort, I've lived in Midtown Square since 2012. I've worked downtown Beaufort since 2013. And when I was looking at which of those do I qualify for, as far as the different members of the board, I think Northwest Quadrant, downtown realty, retail, member at large. So I picked member at large so I could leave space for other people if I was selected. I have a passion for downtown and want to see it grow and be what we want it to be, not what others say it should be. I would just be delighted to serve. I've had multiple careers when you get to be a certain age. I was in marketing. I was headmaster of a number of private schools, restaurateur. So I bring background that's beneficial to downtown.
George, appreciate it.
Good evening. I'm Chris Ram, new to town. We've been here for a little over 2 years now. I've been in commercial real estate for 30 years and was very active in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, on the downtown revitalization. I was president of downtown committee board and was involved with that for years. Love the opportunity to get back to Beaufort. We live close to downtown on North Street. And we also, my wife and I own the Comfort House Inn. So very involved in the area and love the opportunity to give back and see Beaufort grow.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. Brenda?
Good evening. I'm Brenda Litchfield, and I moved to Beaufort in 1956. Yes, I am that old. And now I live on the Point, a couple blocks from where I went to elementary school. I spent most of my career teaching. I taught for 41 years. I taught elementary, middle, high school for 13 years and for 24 years at the university level. And my parents retired here, and I've been coming to Beaufort all my life. I've had a lot of experience being on different boards. In fact, one night I was getting ready to go somewhere and my husband said, "How many things do you belong to?" And I listed them down and he goes, that's just crazy. And I said, "Well, you don't do anything. You don't belong to anything." And he says, "Yes, I do. I belong to Sam's Club and AARP." And that was it. That's all he had. So I've seen a lot of changes in Beaufort since 1956, and I'd like to be part of a board that maybe has a chance to balance growth and balance what the community needs.
Good evening. I'm Kevin Kupia. I've been a business owner on Bay Street for 45 years. Property owner for 20-some years, was on the Main Street board from its inception until it was dissolved. Met Chamber of Commerce board, hospital boards. I've been on lots of boards. I enjoy serving. I enjoy giving my time, but I don't like wasting my time. So I don't want to be on a board that's just going to be coming up with ideas that are not brought about. I started the Taste of Beaufort. I started a crab festival in Port Royal, several other events that were fundraisers for Main Street at the time. I just want to say, I really don't know what you're asking us to do. You know, be an advisory board. I'm here because I want to be on a part of this community's moving forward. So maybe when I find out what you're asking us to advise on, I don't know if I'll want to be on this board, but
okay.
I'm here to volunteer. I'm here to volunteer.
Yeah.
And
That'll
look
be no
forward to
different
serving.
than Main Street or any of those.
And look forward to serving.
Yeah.
About history for people. Done a lot since we've been here. I've been very involved from sitting on the city advisory committee. Well, had the strategic planning goal in 2018. From the city, and now I'm really happy to all have a all of you in the audience subscribe to us, not please do, and what once a month electronically, twice a year hard copy, which I'm very grateful for because not everybody has what comes with that. I'm really good at planting seeds and watching them grow. While back, very early on in my time here, I went to my 60 and I said, Mike, Charleston gives away sandbags twice a year. Operation Citizen Sandbag. The Freedom Park Advisory Board. We have a board Black Friday, got small Saturday, Monday, and Tuesday. So we didn't do our Sunday. We now do our Sunday. Very passionate about our communities, especially the old Commons in Northwest Florida. We live downtown, we live at historic home built in 1820. We actually received the first foundation. I work with ACS, both as a senior docent and distributing a military volunteer. A lot of volunteer coordinating across different oldest neighborhood organization along this continuous circle. Our 50th anniversary. On Front Street. Our 20th, we wanted to do back. We started an annual day of service 4 years ago. The first one house, the second one did. Last year we did 2. This year we did 5 houses. The Parker Neighborhood Association partners with us, as well as the First Local Mission. Hope your neighbor projects go on throughout. Also been instrumental in getting the city for how they set the care program. So it's all about taking care of people here, making it better for everybody. And of course, if I live downtown, I'm very much interested in what goes on downtown. So I'll be curious to see what comes about. We'll find out. We had to walk outside. Perfect. It'll be nice to get my driveway back. I think it's part of some time. And it's all about communication. You guys all know that. So. I'll say I tell SCORE in the city, and now SCORE has a phase release to the downtown drainage project to the public. So.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for the group? I basically have one just for y'all to think about. I'm not sure exactly what the scope of the Downtown Advisory Board is going to be in total, but what metrics would you use to evaluate whether an event is worth it for the city? Because I'm thinking of, you have to have this, or try to get a balance between quality of life and a bunch of events. Do we have too many events? Do we have too few? Do we have too many parades, too few? Basically, what's a good fit? Because you've got to balance that between the residents and tourists and all that kind of thing. So just think about the metrics you would use to come up with, is this event beneficial for the city, yes or no? That's just one. I don't know if anybody else has any other comments or questions.
A good synopsis.
But kind of that's what I've envisioned y'all doing, helping us with. If you want to answer it. No, I'm just throwing that out there, but Kevin, if you want to,
Main thing you have to do is ask the people, you know.
yeah, but that's what
They're
we're
the
looking.
ones that are affected,
Yeah.
because the more input people give, the more involved they feel. So that would be the first step, just getting opinions.
Yeah, and that's why it's spread out. We've got neighborhood representatives, we've got business owners, you know, all that, hospitality. We want to get a feel for what's out there. What works, what doesn't work.
I agree with what he said about the, if this advisory board had been put together 2 or 3 months ago, some things about the district would have changed. And I think if we had been here tonight, we would have been speaking against closing the parking lot, the marina parking lot to free parking. I think we'd be strongly recommending you keep it free parking until this project's done. And I didn't want to get up in a public meeting and say that, but as a downtown merchant.
You just did.
I just did. And that's why I did get this microphone back in my hand, because I really think you should rethink changing that parking lot. It's been a big benefit,
Okay.
Interesting thing about Twitter. Study, are talking to people. Communication, how much. All the time. People. Well, engage or
Well, I think what y'all were talking about, parking is all part of this too. You know, you're advising us, you know, we need to know. So anyone else have anything?
Phil, can I jump in?
Sure.
Um, I'm excited to see the diversity of the committee you're all hoping to put together, because I think it is important to have all those stakeholders around the table. But one of the key things I think as an advisory board member would be listening to those around us and what they like, what they don't like, what they'd like to see, what they think needs to go. It tickles me when I look back and I think back. I remember coming to one of the citywide neighborhood association community meetings 12 years ago now, and I brought Mary and Eric Tebow with me. And that was when they were first thinking about starting First Fridays. And I know Kevin was instrumental back then with that as well. And just to see where that has taken off today. So again, it's about listening, communicating, and asking what folks need.
Thank you. No other questions, y'all can go home. And I guess, Scott, they'll be getting some information about, I guess Linda will be with them. We've got a few other people to add to this committee we'll be interviewing, I think, later on, but
Yes, that's correct.
give you kind of an overview of what we would like to see from you.
Sure.
Okay.
Phil, can I make a quick comment or no?
We've got to move on. You want to talk to us after would be great.
I think the criteria is great, that everybody outside is downtown. Downtown 6 or 7 days a week, and I means if not knows, we'll be on this committee.
You're
getting a
Did I do something wrong?
very narrow cross section about that. It's a flaw.
Yeah.
You know, that's a great idea. Sorry.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have a discussion. Department directors are going to present presentation and capital projects for the draft recommended fiscal year 2027 consolidated budget.
Right.
Alan, you ready to?
Yeah, we'll do that.
Go ahead and
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As you mentioned, yeah, we'll have each department kind of come up and present just their portion of the budget. I'll be answering questions you may have, a little more deeper dive. I'll start out now with non-departmental. You'll see kind of the chart of fiscal year 25 actuals, and then the fiscal year 26 original and revised budget, and then our 27 recommended budget. Here's a graph form of that. And this non-departmental includes a lot of our economic partnerships. Those are listed below. Those are the same amounts that we presented to council last week, and also includes the Burton and Lays Island fire services, and also includes transfers out, $375,000 for the Duke Street project, and then $492,000 for debt service, for debt payments for the three fire truck leases and the energy service performance contract in city buildings. Happy answering questions you may have about non-departmental.
Any questions on non-departmental? Okay, go ahead, Alan.
Okay. Next, we have our city manager's department.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm going to be conservative and sit here if you don't mind, and we'll just go over these. Strategic plan for fiscal year 2027, our key focus areas for the city manager's department are simple. Having purview over all the departments and all of the initiatives that we have. We encompass every one of our key focus areas, as well as all the guiding principles in our strategic plan. We have a new budget request this year in addition to the new full-time position that we established last year. And that is for a social media monitoring service versus a FTE social media monitoring position. So this is a new contract that we are proposing in our budget, and that will be in the amount of $24,000. Department expenditures, you will see an uptick in the FY 2027 personnel line. And again, that primarily is accounted for by the new records management position that we have in the office. Yes, Councilman Mitchell.
Yeah, I'm sorry, kind of slow to the microphone. Could you go back to the social media monitoring? Well,
Yes, sir.
it's still there.
Yes, sir.
Could you explain how that's going to work a little more detail?
Yeah, so currently we, as you may recall, we adopted a social media policy that has some guidelines in terms of posting content and what type of content is allowed and what kind of content will be hidden both by automatic features within Facebook and other social media platforms, as well as should we choose to monitor it. We have very limited resources right now to monitor social media, and as such, it is very rare when we're able to jump in and answer questions and that type of thing. This will allow us to have a little closer monitoring of the comments that are posted on our social media pages. And it will also allow us to provide limited answers to questions that come up.
And those questions or monitoring results, will they flow to you as kind of the final monitor, or do you have?
No, this will be a contract primarily with SK Services.
Okay.
Who are very good at social media platforms management, and they think they can efficiently do this for us. And it's much, much cheaper than hiring a full-time person.
Yeah, and if SK discovers something, it'll be brought directly to you or to Eric, or?
If it's a clear violation of our social media policy, then they will have the authority to go ahead and take care of it. If it's something that's questionable at all, they can bring that to my attention, and we can make a determination.
Okay,
I
thank
got
you.
one quick question. Right now, currently, on the city's platform, there are no comments allowed on there. Will that be continuing, or will be opening it up?
That's incorrect. On the city's Facebook page,
Right.
comments are allowed.
They are? Okay, right now, I don't believe they are.
On the police department page, they have not been
Okay,
allowed
that's
for
what
some
I'm
time.
thinking of as
That's
police.
correct.
Okay, correct. Okay,
But on the city's Facebook page, they are allowed.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Again, the uptick in personnel costs is the records management position that we added to the staff.
and which would account for the overall uptick in city management department expenditures.
And there's another
If you
question.
could back up just one, Alan, I want to address one item. The second bullet, the half year of CIP director position as ARPA funding ends, you may recall, we established that several years ago as a temporary position because we had a multitude of capital projects on our plate facing us. I think at the time that we established that position, we were not yet aware that we had to, unless I'm misunderstanding the timeline in my head, we were not yet in with the knowledge that we would have to replace the relieving platform at Waterfront Park. This is a position that I think we will have to continue for at least a couple more years as we are inundated still with our drainage projects, our park projects, and other capital project needs that are emerging. So the ARPA funds that were funding that position temporarily will be ending as of December of this year. And so half of the year will be funded with non-ARPA funds, half the position. Any questions?
Just to clarify, the records manager, he's doing more than just FOIA, right?
Absolutely, yes. He is establishing a records management system for the city, something that we very much need to have in place. FOIA is just a subset of his activities.
Okay. Next, we'll move on to city council. Just show kind of the chart, then the graph. And the main increase is for legal fees, increase about $200,000 due to more litigation, and also for our city attorney providing criminal prosecution services. That counts for that increase. Any questions on that? We'll move into the finance department. This is for the key focus areas are organizational excellence. The guiding principle is about improving communication and transparency. And the initiative is to prepare the Government Financial Officers Association Popular Annual Financial Report, or PAFR. If we get this award, we'll have the triple crown of the ACFR, the budget document, and the PAFR. Budget needs is our continued professional education for $14,300 to invest in continued education and professional development for our finance team. And also for IT, this includes our city's ERP software, our financial transparency portal, and then to include the PAFR as well. You'll see kind of the chart for the finance department, see kind of a slight uptick, mostly in personnel and benefits. That's due to the results from the compensation study and the 2% COLA. Do you have any questions about the finance department?
Questions on finance?
Okay.
Move on out.
Next, I'd like to introduce Charles Preslor, who is with InterDev. He'll present about the information technology department budget.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is the chart for the finance or for the IT department IT budget. This represents a 2% increase in from previous year. The IT's operating costs, there's a 5% CPI increase in the IT services for IT and GIS. There's also line items for wireless and wired networking improvements for the city's network infrastructure, as well as a secondary internet connection for connectivity, resilience, and business continuity. I believe that is it. Any questions?
Questions for Charles? Thank you, Charles. Appreciate it.
Next up, we have our HR Director, Yvette Burgess.
Bringing good news.
Good evening again, twice in one night. All right, human resources key focus area is fiscal sustainability. Guiding Principle 4.3, implement innovative technology initiatives to support city business, processes, and customer service. The initiative continues to be oversee implementation and completion and optimization of NeoGov modules, Learn, Perform, Insight, and Onboard. We just completed Onboard, so we are now done with all 4 modules, like literally just completed it about 2 weeks ago. Budget request needed to help achieve the fiscal year 2027 strategic goal initiative is just the ongoing support of NeoGov. Lovely graphs. Category and reason for any major increase in fiscal year 2027 budget. Actually, human resources budget for 2027 is showing an overall decrease from 2026 of approximately almost 20,000.
Very good.
Any questions?
Any questions for Yvette? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Yvette. Good evening.
Council. So for the court portion of this, basically the underlying theme of this is professional development for relatively new staff and continued cooperation with the different parties that we work with throughout the court system, from a ticket being written all the way to docket and records management for that. So any training opportunities that present themselves, we want to allow our staff to pursue those professional development chances when they arise. This is the chart for court. The graph. So we also have a decrease overall. We're not asking for any increases. We had a change using the public defender's office. We're now using the defense attorney in conjunction with the Bluffton Municipal Court. So that was a decrease in the contractual services budget. We've also had a change in tenure, so we have relatively new staff. My predecessor had a lot of experience, and so we are young new staff looking for opportunities to train.
Thank you very much.
Are there any questions for me?
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Kurt?
Sure, we have a lot of focus areas there, mostly related to, I think, really the comprehensive plan and the code updates. Know that I need to read them all in the interest of time, but the budget request, we have the InterGov yearly fees and just some training and licensing fees. Our expenditures are pretty much flat from last year, so as you can see. So we really don't have any major requests for any additional money. So.
Any questions for Kurt? Thank you, Kurt.
Kurt, are you fully staffed now?
Almost, yeah, but it's just a building inspector off, but yeah. Sure have been.
Are you looking to hire full-time or just contract?
Yeah, full-time.
Is that reflected in this if you hire someone, or?
Oh, it's been open for almost a year. We lost
my neighbor.
About 9 months. Yeah, his neighbor, last September, and we've been trying to fill it since then. So.
Thank you.
Kurt, real quick before you walk away, this is not about what you just presented. I know you walked away 3 times and come back, man. So I just really quick, I didn't get to tell you this in our last meeting, so I wanted to tell you now. One, I really appreciate all the work that the planning department did for the short-term rental, getting that ordinance to where it was. That was the evolution of a lot of conversations and a lot of work. And the second thing is I really just wanted to thank you for taking ownership of Section S, even though there were several comments against that particular section. I know that was not easy. That took a lot of courage, a lot of integrity, and I just wanted to let you know that I respect that and I appreciate you doing so. So thanks.
Sure. I mean, I wrote it, so I guess but thank you.
I'm not going to ask anything, so you can walk away.
Okay, I'll walk away this time.
Just a minute.
Chief Price?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Presenting the Police Department's budget. Our key focus areas, safe and vibrant city. Our initiatives to expand the community response team by 3 officers. And also we have enhanced public safety through that as well. Upgrade our critical equipment, including replacement weapon systems. It is time and they've reached their end of life. And a field deployable narcotics testing device and a message board and speed trailer to support officer safety and community enforcement efforts. So our budget requests are the 3 additional community response team officers at $423,552. And as you know, we received and were awarded the COPS grant this year. It's the first time that Beaufort Police Department has ever received a federal grant for hiring.
And how long does that last, the grant?
It's a grant that you have 5 years to use, but you have 3 years of grant. And you have to be fully staffed before you, essentially you have to be fully staffed before you can use that grant for officers. And also to enhance public safety through modern equipment, improve processes and innovative solutions. As you know, our weapons have reached end of life. We'll also need duty gear with those. You have to have new holsters and everything. $113,670. You all approved last year for 6 weapons for weapons testing, and we've had that evaluation going on all year long this year. Field deployable narcotics testing device, $36,982. It should be noted we've also asked for a grant for this. We don't know if we're going to get it or not. This is because sometimes it takes up to a year for the test to come back for narcotics, which means if you arrest someone for narcotics possession or sales, it takes a full year at times for them to come back with the testing, which means the court date can't start for that. And then you have probably another year of court, which means offenders or habitual users are still, not in the systems or getting help essentially for 2 years it could be. We've had extensive talks with the prosecutor's solicitor's office, and we talked to them about this, and they fully support this, and they wrote us a letter of support. And then, of course, you're all aware of our message board and speed sign trailer, which we have a list now that we've started for deploying that at $21,889. And it also does traffic analysis as well. Here's the general fund portion of police department expenditures. Accompanying graph. The parks and tourism portion of police support. And the accompanying graph. So just to recap, those are our asks. Are there any questions?
On the community response team officers, they're going to be assigned to doing like speeding and noise and all this stuff that we're getting ready to pass.
Absolutely, sir. That is their full and full-time responsibility. They actually respond to our community complaints directly and quickly.
Okay, good. And how often do y'all replace your weapons? Is there some type of like 5 years, 10 years?
The lifespan's usually 5 to 7 years, and they started getting the weapons that we currently have in 2017. It should be noted last week we had 2 weapons break beyond repair. They're ready to be replaced.
Good. Any other questions?
Thank you so much.
Steve Ogden.
Evening, everyone. For your fire department budget presentation, your strategic plan, key focus areas, I won't read all through those, but the top one, promoting public safety process improvements is still a priority for us moving forward in this budget. To achieve that, salaries and benefits is important. We appreciate the compensation study and the willingness to keep us competitive. That is important to moving the fire department forward and meeting those goals. Also, fleet management. We have 2 of the new pumpers that are moved off the fire impact fees. We are adding the ladder truck payment, the city's portion, out of fire impact fees this year. So again, that's an area we need to grow in moving forward, is try to not use impact fees for those fire truck payments. That's not really the best use for those impact fees. Also included in this budget is, same as last year, the self-contained breathing apparatus. We have applied for a grant through FEMA to replace all of them.
This will be the matching funds to the grant if we awarded the grant. If not, we'll purchase 4 out of this amount for this year's budget, just like we did last year, to start the replacement process for our air packs.
If you get the grant, with this match, how many will you end up with?
We will replace all of them. I think it's 33 to 35.
Okay.
We'll be able to replace our whole fleet of air packs. On the fire department expenditures, just a couple of line items I wanted to point out. Operating, there was a slight increase. Capital, you see in the FY 27, $48,000. That is for those air packs. While previous year it was over 1.2 million, but remind council that that ladder truck purchase was in that, which took up almost all of that we financed out since. So that's why you see that big difference in that line item. And also debt is not in the fire department budget. Those fire truck payments that were under debt in previous years are now part of the consolidated debt budget that Alan talked about earlier. And there's a graph that depicts that decrease in this year for the reasons I just explained. Any major increases, like I said, the salary increases, we knew going into this budget that we needed to hold the line tight in operations because we did have such a large increase in salaries and benefits this year. The ladder truck payment, as I mentioned, on operations, the only increases were really items that increased just because of cost increases of service of goods. So maintaining software, maintenance uniforms, gear, and medical supply. The next 2 items are not technically in the fire department budget, but they're worth highlighting because they're relevant to our budget. One is the Fire Station 1 repairs and co-location with Beaufort County EMS. We are funding that, our portion of the repairs this year. We're going to still continue to work the relationship with Beaufort County and get EMS incorporated into our station. But we're also going to have the funds to do the needed repairs that we need to do to our portion of the building. That was going to be part of the agreement either way as we move forward with Beaufort County. And then the non-departmental item for the Ladies Island, St. Helena Fire District contract, that's something we need to work on reducing moving forward. It's getting very expensive for the number of calls. We've budgeted $515,000 this year. It was $505,000 we paid out last year for 349 calls for service. So my goal is to ultimately get a automatic aid agreement where we can trade in-kind services and not have a payment for service. But understanding that Ladies Island, is under contract with us now, they're not just going to stop and not do it for anything. But my goal is to be able to reduce that over a few years' times and eventually end in an automatic aid agreement. And the city manager and finance director and I are working to continue that discussion moving forward.
Are they receptive?
As I said, they're doing it for money now, and naturally they want to continue to do it for money.
How long is the contract?
Well, we go year by year now. The initial contract that we have with them has expired, but in the contract, it's automatically renewed year by year unless we give 1 year's notice of cancellation.
Is there any idea how many of those calls are related to accidents at Ladies Island Drive and Sea Island Parkway?
Not many of them are accidents because the roads are not actually in the city. So it depends on where the accident is actually at. For
Okay.
example, if it's in Publix parking lot, which is in the city, then that would be contributed to one of
Okay,
our
but
calls.
the intersection.
The
would be-
intersection is not.
Okay,
It's
good.
actually in the unincorporated areas.
This county.
But their call volume is similar to ours. The majority of it is medical and accidents. Of those 349, probably 75% of them were accidents or medical responses over there. And the last slide is our breakdown between Beaufort and Port Royal. It is the same split this year as it has been the last couple of years. So the city's portion is the 4.6 million and Port Royal will be the 3.4 million.
What is that based on? Is that on rooftops?
It's rooftop count, yes, sir. Those stayed about the same this year as the city's rooftops increased. Port Royal's did too, similarly.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Nate?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Present Public Works. Key focus area, We want to update the codes and regulations for the parks and playgrounds. We've already started working with downtown operations to build a foundation of different parks and different rules. We're working diligently to try to get that to city manager for him to look over, and we're going to keep working forward and trying to get that pushed through. Budget request needed, 21,000 for the Brightly C-Click Fix transition. As everyone knows, as we talked before, we introduced a new system, Brightly, which is also a work order system. 12, sorry, I'm short, so it's probably right. So $12,000 of that would have been the C-Click Fix allotted money. So really, it's only a $9,000 increase. $100,000 divided equally across the 3 different fund codes for a 305 excavator, and then $80,000 for security upgrades and monitoring for our parks, playgrounds, and facilities.
On the Brightly, do we need to have a new app to download?
We will. C-Click Fix will be in place until September. So we will start here. Hopefully, we're going to roll out to Public Works this month. I'm sorry, May. So May, and then it'll roll out to the city in June, and then we will start the transition of getting in front of all the neighborhood associations and all that to show them the transition from C-Click Fix to Brightly.
What kind of upgrades to the parks?
So this is for the camera systems, the internet, and the power. It's the monitoring systems that we have for our playgrounds. We still have playgrounds like Pigeon Point that doesn't have cameras within the playground itself. And we want to continue to keep pushing from just monitoring the bathrooms to also protection in the park itself, as well as we've moved onto the Spanish Moss Trail, but we want to start branching out on the Spanish Moss Trail.
Where does that feed go to? Is the police
So,
department, where does the feed go to, the monitoring? Who's looking at?
Myself, Public Works, downtown operations, and the police department all have access to the cameras.
And do you feel like you're adequately supplied with the equipment you need?
So we're asking for the replacement excavator,
Right.
and the one that we currently have, we're having trouble getting parts for.
Right. I
Other
mean,
than-
that, with that, you're adequate, you feel like you're adequate.
I feel over the past 5 years, council has done a great job helping and getting us the equipment we need, and we are adequately able to accomplish our goals.
Appreciate all y'all do. I mean, you're everywhere.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Call us 911 for us, but those are the real 911 over there. So this is our expenditures for our general fund. Just a quick note that this encompasses our administrative staff, our streets, our traffic division, and our facilities, and the solid waste division as well, which has our solid waste contract. So graph. Parks and Tourism Fund. You will see a decrease that is due to some operating funds as well as capital, but also the debt transfer. Stormwater Fund, you will see a slight increase, and that's due to the $42,000 for capital, and that is part of the excavator and a trailer. Category reason for any major increases, there is $50,000 additional that we anticipated for new contract increases for our sweeping contract. That's in our street division and our stormwater division. That would move from 70,000 to 120,000 to anticipate that increase. The 109,000 for the excavator and the street light replacement would be the 34,000 for the excavator, 75 out of our street department. HVAC for City Hall PD. It's $46,000 for the maintenance for the chiller, cooling tower, and fan motors. 32,503, which is our Parks Department capital. Again, it encompasses the excavator, a riding blower, and a new U-Dome trailer for the Parks Department.
Nate, where on the street light replacement, where are those replacements going to take place?
So this is a placeholder that we are trying to work with Dominion to continue to replace the gooseneck lights that are on Charles and Carteret.
Okay. And that sweeping contract, we contract that out?
We have not yet. It's getting ready to go out for bid.
Okay. Any other questions for Nate?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Appreciate it.
Good evening.
Evening, Linda.
Downtown Operations and Community Services. Our key focus areas for our strategic plan, our initiatives are evaluate and report recommendations on increasing family and consumer access to the downtown area. And our economic and development key focus area, the initiative is to implement open for business Tiger Team phased recommendations. The budget request needed to achieve these strategic goal initiatives is $15,000 for subscription to intelligence and foot traffic data software. This is used to kind of figure out who all is visiting downtown, where they're going, how they're doing it, where there are workforce housing, traffic counts, those types of things in order to do that, to see where they're coming from and how and what we're attracting.
Is that an annual subscription?
That's an annual.
Wouldn't you get the information from Rob Wells or?
Rob Wells does provide some information. And he uses several different softwares. He uses a portion of one of the softwares that we're looking at. But it's mostly tourism driven or data. And the subscription for cities can go a little bit broader and provide a little bit more information. We have run across when we do reporting back to our cultural district, for the Cultural District Advisory Board, for Main Street, that we need some more information that cannot be provided by what Rob Wells can provide from his software. I think us working together, it will help. This also could be used throughout the entire city and in many areas, not just downtown. Main Street, $10,000 for social district activities throughout the year. So we have several different departments. One of them is the marina. And so here is the marina, the expenditures for the marina.
Is that just on the buildings, maintenance on the buildings?
This is mainly on the buildings and the fuel tanks, as well as the day docks. This is the graph. Increases for it's skipping. Am I skipping? Okay. New signage for $2,800 for new signage for the day docks and the waterfront park day dock. That was the increase. For waterfront park expenditures, we went down, of course, but the debt is been negated. It's done and moved somewhere else. It's in the debt service fund. Moved.
Yeah, and that waterfront park ends in July, right? Okay.
Yeah. So that is for that. I knew it was going away. Waterfront park expenditures, you can see it in a graph. The increases, Christmas decorations, the replacement of $3,000. replacement of Christmas lights and additional photo op decorations. We did such a wonderful job of adding additional lighting in the park throughout and so we just need to keep those upgraded and replaced when certain ones go away. $10,000 for the expansion of safety cameras downtown. We have safety cameras and we keep them going and refreshing them as well as expanding. Capital acquisitions, $23,200 for additional benches and dining sets. Those benches are also in the park. Several of them have been broken, as well as in our pocket parks. And signage, $1,000 for signage refresh.
Linda, where are the dining sets?
The dining sets are there's certain areas in the waterfront park that have wooden dining sets, as well as the bistro sets that are on West Street Extension. If we were to, which we are looking at and adding some other gathering areas, we would want to put those benches and dining sets in some other gathering areas.
So they're strategically placed so that if folks wanted to just sit and eat in the park, they could do that. Is that the whole idea?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Okay.
We currently have several of those, some by the playground and the Circle of Palms. We have one behind the Saltus patio. There's a little dining area there. It's a little bit more intimate. And then you have one behind Luther's and Plums.
Y'all take advantage of Pride of Place? Do we have any money in that anymore?
There
Like
is
Christmas lights? something like
There's
that?
some, we have used that in the past. I don't think some of it is specific.
Okay.
Downtown operations, this is our operations department. There are 3 of us in that department. We stayed fairly flat. There is our graph. Increases for the 2027 budget, $43,000 for annual peri-weather station. We added a peri-weather station at 500 Carteret Street. This actually monitors heat, rain, all of it. We are using it actually for the tours and the wet bulb monitoring. It will automatically, when it gets to a certain amount for the horse carriages, it will alert everybody at the same time that they have met their threshold. That makes it a whole lot easier 7 days a week for our staff. It's very consistent. What we've been using is we take a picture of our monitoring device and then we text it out, and it does cause a little bit of a delay for some, because we see all operations at 91 degrees or 91 wet bulb reading. So this automates it. It also, we're using the weather station for events and providing lightning strike updates and the like. $15,000 for a location intelligence foot software, which I explained was one of the initiatives. And then in Main Street, additional $10,000 for activities for the social district and an additional $9,000 for First Friday events. We originally budgeted for only a couple of one street closure for this fiscal year. When we got feedback from our merchants, they wanted to have more. And so we were making sure that we're budgeting for 3 additional, or 3 total. Parking expenditures, you'll see this is a little bit larger because we have an $80,000 capital expenditure budgeted. And that $80,000 is for replacement of pay stations. Our pay stations are at end of life. many customers are complaining that they can't see the screens. We've tried to replace the screens. They are outdated and need to be replaced. And then
The kiosk you're talking about.
this is the kiosk, the pay station, the big, large pay station inside the parking lot. There are 12 of them throughout the city.
There's one at the 500 Carteret there that's,
It's missing.
well, I
Oh.
was there one evening, I couldn't see, I just put enough money and I said, it's gotta be enough by now. So, yeah,
It is only 50 cents an hour though.
well,
So if you would have put a few dollars.
I didn't get a ticket, so it's all good.
That's good. But yes, the same thing that is happening at 500 Carteret Street's pay station is happening at many of them. Signs, we additional $2,000 for replacement of worn and broken signage for parking. Any questions?
Any questions for Linda? Thanks, Linda. Appreciate it.
Thank you for all you do.
One question really quick. How many of those pay stations are in the marina parking lot?
I would probably say there's about 7. There's 6 to 7, I believe.
Okay, thank you.
All right, for capital projects, I'll start a little bit with the presentation. Just it's the same thing as last week, but just most of our projects are kind of ongoing. There's a few new projects. Some of them are grant related. You can see there. Here's the summary of our capital project budget of $25.5 million. And here's the funding, mostly our ongoing grants. Some of them are transfers in from various funds. So our grants, we have the SCORE grant, or SCIP grant, STAG grant, and a couple of FEMA grants as well. And then these transfers in, these are either coming from fund balance or from remaining bond funds that we have. See, we're using stormwater bond funds, some TIP 2 fund balance for some projects. And then parks and tourism bond funds, and also the fund balance, and then state ATAX funds as well. And we'll let Brian explain a little more about some of the projects, kind of hit some of the highlights.
Good evening. Tonight, I'm going to start out with the going over the projects and the recommended budget for the individual projects. Some of these projects are rolled over from the FY26 budget, and some of these are new projects. The fire station being one of the newest projects. The budget for it is $800,000. For the Southside Park Phase 2, the budget is $275,000. For the first South Carolina Volunteer Park, $250,000. For the Waterfront Park Relieving Platform Phase Engineering, $925,000. Charles Craven Street Drainage, $8,912,679. For the King Street Drainage Project, $8,854,314. For the Baynard Street Project, $1,102,555. The Police Department Building upfit, $150,000. For the City Hall Parking Land Acquisition and Design, the budget is $1 million. For the Carnegie Building interior, $200,000. For the Arsenal Walls rehabilitation, $239,000 or $239,639. For the Arsenal windows, $200,000. For the City Hall PD courts roof replacement, $700,000. For the Pigeon Point drainage study, $216,000. For the Marina A and D dock, $624,000. The Duke streetscape and drainage construction, $1,069,220. I can't see. For a total of $25,519,187. Alan? Want to go over this
Yeah.
capital fund project detail?
Absolutely. Yes, this is kind of showing the breakdown by the various funds that we have of the different funding sources, kind of another way of showing the $25.5 million. Happy to answer any questions you may have about capital projects.
On the interior of the Carnegie Building, have we let bids? I mean, saw any bids for that? Interior?
Out for bid, yeah, I think we're going out for bid by next month or June at the latest.
Because I know they're doing the roof. Oh, I've
Yeah,
seen
roof,
that.
yeah, roof first. We're waiting for them to finish up that, then we'll bid out interior after that.
Are there any other grant monies other, ARPA I know is ending at the end of the year, but any of those skip grants or any of the other stuff? Is there a timeline on when we have to have those things completed? In terms of, I don't want to lose funding. is what
Yeah,
basically what I'm
the
getting at.
skip, which is the King Street, we have to have that project done. They want everything kind of closed out by, August, September timeframe, so we can submit for reimbursement no later than October 1st is what they're
Are we
saying.
looking good on those? I mean, in terms of
Yeah.
timeline?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, Brian, shake your head, yes.
Yeah, they made a lot of progress over the weekend and
They
that
did
project's
real
been
good
great.
this weekend.
Streets back open up, right? Okay.
They saved probably 3 weeks in that 3-day project this past weekend, so they made very good progress.
Good. Any questions for Brian or Howard? Thanks a lot. Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you.
I think that concludes our presentation from each department, but happy to answer any questions or kind of whether we want to bring everything forward to first reading on May 12th or whether y'all want to discuss any certain items.
May 12th is when we're going to have first reading of the budget. Okay. Okay, next on the discussion item is an ordinance to amend Part 9, Chapter 1, Section 9.
Mayor, I'm sorry, if you're moving on from that, I would like to comment on, are we done? No other comments on the budget?
No, go ahead. I didn't know if anybody else had questions.
Okay, I didn't have any questions. I just wanted to make general comments really quick. And last year, at this time, I went through and my focus was trying to identify at the time $500,000 that we could reduce in our expenditures for one of three purposes. One, to roll back millage. Two, to increase the amount that we set aside for our aging infrastructure. I believe our reserve now is 2 mills. Knowing that we have several projects in front of us, I think bolstering that fund, if we have the opportunity, would be beneficial. And then the third would be a combination of those two things. This year, I took a different approach because I really want to get to a point to where I can at least vote yes on this budget. Right now, I feel uncomfortable with some of the expenditures, and I've expressed that to council. And I feel uncomfortable with the fact that we're potentially going to ask our constituents for a tag fee, uh, especially in light of the fact that they're going to be faced with the decision of voting yes or no on an 8-year transportation sales tax for a number of projects as well. So I feel uncomfortable with that, but I do want to get to a yes vote. And so I spent time looking at this budget through the lens of just trying to reduce the expenditures to the point of not having to have a tag fee for some of the what I would feel are essential services that the city should be providing. I'm not going to go through in a lengthy fashion and identify each specific line item. But what I would just like to say, and this would just be simply nothing more than a request, to go back and look at some of the partnerships, the travel and training expenses, the subscriptions and dues, office supplies, printing, anything that really is non-essential and could be deferred spending, not reducing staff, not reducing the public safety services that we provide or our ability to fund core operations, but just taking a really deep dive in some of the expenses that we possibly could defer or could consolidate. I'm not in favor of spending additional funding on IT, traffic, data collection software when we could utilize the data that we get from CVB in the chamber. And you know what? If that doesn't give us everything that we need, okay, we'll operate based on what it does give us to the best of our ability. But at this time, with the situation that we're in, I'm not in favor of spending more for subscriptions, because I think that our direction should be the opposite of that. I'm not in favor of social media monitoring, and it's not because I don't think that SK would do a great job, because I think that SK would do a wonderful job, and they do a great job for us. But I think that with the position that we're in, I don't feel like that is a priority need for the city, and any reductions that we can make to offset the potential need to increase taxes, I think would be, again, to our benefit. We heard several comments tonight about keeping the marina parking lot as a free parking lot. If you did that, you wouldn't have to replace the 6 or 7 pay stations that are in there. So I'm not sure what that total would cost. Maybe we replace some that, throughout the city have, the screens have gone bad or whatever. But if there's 7 in the marina and we keep those, am I still on?
Yeah, you're still on.
Okay, my screen just got all choppy. Maybe Sean was taking it out on me. No, I'm kidding. But maybe if we keep that marina parking lot free and accessible throughout the duration of these projects, it buys us a year before we have to replace those, and defers that cost. So I would just simply request that we go back and look at this before first reading and try to identify enough reductions to where we do not have to come to the constituents and ask for an increase in taxes in any way. So that's all that I have to say. I appreciate the presentation and all the work that went into it. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Do we need to have another work session prior to the first reading on the budget? I'm asking council.
I don't think so.
You're good with not having one?
I think that can be determined during first reading, depending on whether the first reading passes or not. If it doesn't, need some work. If it does, we'll move on.
And Mr. Mayor, we're in the process now on the staff side of making minor adjustments before we bring it to you for first reading. And I'll remind council that that will be just 2 weeks from today. So to have a workshop between now and then may not be a real feasible option.
Well, if y'all can do it, that's fine. I'm just thinking if we have something, we need to get it to you, some issues, and y'all can look at it and see what you can do.
We've taken really good notes
Okay.
on comments all throughout the process. And so hopefully we will have made enough incremental adjustments that it will be a budget that is satisfactory to council when we bring it to you on the 12th.
All right. Okay. Yes, we can move on. If there's nothing else, we
Oh,
will.
I have a question for Scott. So those changes that you make, you'll get it to us sometime between now and then so that we could have
Yes,
some
we can
appreciation.
summarize those. Alan and I are going to get together again. I've asked some more questions of the staff with regard to some of the items you've talked about tonight. And we will summarize some of the changes that will be in the first reading of the budget for you before we bring it to you.
Thanks, Sarah. Somebody want to make comment here, I believe.
Jared Madison, 2618 Holmes Drive. So on the previous meeting, I think that was a special meeting. I think there was an allocation for the acquisition of a parking lot or land for a parking lot. I didn't see that on this reading. Is that something that's still being considered?
No, it was in there.
Okay, I just
It's part of
missed
the TIF too.
Okay. So my concerns with that is that, I did my parking study and I presented it for council. There was a stakeholder meeting in 2024, and the stakeholder feedback was employee parking, consumer parking, accessibility to parking. Then you have the other items, dedicated lot for employees. So with the budget as well, we have also identified in our comprehensive plan, housing affordability and availability as well. So to allocate $1 million for a parking lot or acquisition of the land, when we do have issue in housing in Beaufort and retaining workforce housing. So we have an issue with retaining nurses because they can't live here, teachers can't because they can't live here, and hospitality workers. I think 100,000 was devoted to Beaufort Jasper Housing Trust. So we're
It's
going to
just for the home repair program.
right. Okay. So with that, and I'm not sure if there's any other places in the budget where we identify how to make housing more affordable for the people that live here. So going back to that, I think in that same discussion, safety was an issue from using that overflow lot in Beaufort County and just walking over. When I gave my presentation, safety, I brought up safety as a concern, but the rebuttal for that it shouldn't be a concern. And I would like to highlight that same emphasis as well here. So for me, what I see it is that if we're identifying certain aspects that are already an issue, and I believe parking for employees and dedicated parking, the infrastructure itself downtown has been identified like 20 years ago. We've put the emphasis in our comprehensive plan on housing affordability and availability. And then we use funds to acquire land for a parking lot that, in my personal opinion, we don't need. It's like someone coming to you and saying, hey, I'm hungry. And you look at the person and you say, no, you're not hungry. And then you send them away. You see them sitting outside on the bench in front of your house, and then you then proceed to go make 3 trips to throw away food right in front of them. And that's the issue that I have with that. I really hope the council reconsiders allocating those funds to not even if it's parking downtown, but maybe affordable housing and making initiatives. Like we could have a program for first-time home owners that represent a demographic that we are trying to retain. But if we don't do anything about it now, I think this issue is going to persist. And I think the sentiment with the people that live here and maybe across the board is a small distrust in government. I don't want that to be the same how our community views government, because I know that's not the case, you know? And I think that if we can take small steps to just highlight something positive we're doing about the problems that we identified, that would go a long way.
Just to let you know, Jared, on the $1 million that we had budgeted for this parking lot, that comes out of TIF2 funds. Those are reserved for this area right here along Boundary Street.
So you can't use it
You
anywhere
can't
else?
use it anywhere
Oh,
else.
okay.
That's where that came from.
Okay,
I wish we had an extra $1 million to spend on.
right,
stuff.
okay. Okay,
But we
thank you.
don't. That's just to clarify what
Okay.
and we get what you're saying.
Okay,
And we do give some tax money that goes towards the Beaufort Jasper Housing Trust as a partner to support their efforts that they're doing.
so it's just an infrastructure amount for this particular area in the city that it has to be used for?
You're talking about the infrastructure for the TIF2?
TIF2, right?
Yeah, it's for anything in this area. And I think we've already allocated most of that money, haven't we, Scott?
Yes, Mayor, that's correct. In this budget, we've allocated the majority of it.
Yeah, some of it's going to do repairs that need to be done on the city hall and all that, but it has to be done on stuff within this project area
Okay,
for the benefit of this area.
gotcha.
And going to your comment about for the nurses and teachers, I don't know if you saw the announcement Beaufort Memorial made, but they're creating homes just off of Reboat Road, number of them,
Oh,
Really,
that's
that was
awesome.
for Jasper.
along with Beaufort Jasper, yes.
That's awesome.
Housing Trust, yeah.
So I mean, that's a really great thing.
Yeah,
they're
that is
doing.
super cool.
And if they don't fill it up with nurses, they're going to open it up to police,
Every-
fire, teachers,
Nice,
whomever.
very cool, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that feedback.
Sure. Okay, if there's nothing else on the budget, We will move on to discussion item B, an ordinance to amend Part 9, Chapter 1, Section 9-1008, loud and unseemly noise of the City of Beaufort Code of Ordinances, and this is a discussion. Chief Price, you want to fill in the?
That'd be great. Thank you so much, Mayor and Council. As you know, and as you've seen before, it is the loud and unseemly noise ordinance. And before you have been the recommended changes before, particularly 1 and 2, with 75 decibels when measured from the property line, amplified music from the property line, city contracted services, and changing the hours of operation for the construction machinery, heavy-duty equipment, and other machines. Those are the changes that were enacted.
Councilman McPhee.
Well, in reviewing the changes that we've talked about and in ad nauseum that we've talked about changes regarding the noise ordinance, I went back to the original noise ordinance and looked at the elements that were initially built in to different areas within the city and time restraints and so forth. And I really think that the streamlining that we're trying to do on it is muddying the intent of the ordinance to a point where we aren't effectively, I don't see the noise ordinance as being a one size fits all. And I think that some of the changes and streamlining that we're trying to do, initially when we looked at this, we were looking at how to incorporate the automobile noise and the sound incorporated in the noise ordinance to make sure that we weren't ambiguous and had coverage of the additional enforcement there. But in doing so, in the conversations we've had about the decibel levels and how we measure them and what locations and so forth, we also dropped some of the time frame associated with the nighttime music district downtown. And I really feel like we need to go back and look at the original ordinance and redefine exactly what we're trying to do without streamlining it to such a point that it makes no sense citywide, if that makes sense.
Yes, sir. And the new ordinance or the new proposed draft, but as it were, item 8 does that, but we can certainly go back and look at that and do a comparison from original to proposed.
I really feel like it would be helpful. We made some substantive conversations about decibel level changes, but we've had a group that has submitted South Carolina noise ordinance data from cities around South Carolina, and our decibel levels are the highest of any other city in the South Carolina. And, I've had concerns about the decibel levels and whether or not that's tantamount in how we measure from the standpoint of I'm not sure that people can discern between 70 and 75 or 65 and 85, but obviously a decimeter can. And, with that in mind, I think it might behoove us to look at the original ordinance and perhaps try to incorporate some standards that better reflect the downtown core area and the noise generated from the downtown core area associated with the businesses, with our nighttime music districts, and how
Residential areas there.
the the areas that are close to the downtown area, as well as across the river from the downtown area, that we have constantly had complaints from people regarding the noise that travels across the water and up Bay Street and behind Bay Street all the way into Pigeon Point and into the Point as well.
Councilman McPhee, one thing I noticed on that comparison, yes, we do have the highest decibel allowance. At the same time, it's measured at the property line. So that would where almost everywhere else is 500 feet, 100 feet, boundary of receiving property with no telling how far, or property line of complainant. So I think 75 kind of fits in there if you're measuring it right there, because if you're measuring it 500 feet, it might be 70.
it's going to be a lot less than 70 at 500 feet.
Okay,
Yeah.
but by keeping it 75 and then having it from the property line of, where it's at, that kind of puts a leash on it.
Yeah, I don't want to make too many changes to it in the sense that, to Councilman McPhee's point, we didn't have a whole lot of problem with the old one. It's just we wanted to tweak it for the automobiles, you know, with the noise and all that. And it kind of gotten where we took out the nighttime quiet hours and all that. That needs to be back in. I think that's the big issue with the residential community part of it. But you know, if we can just take a look at this and let's see if we can come up with something that's agreeable, and it's also something enforceable. I mean, that's the other thing. Y'all have to, you're gonna be the ones that get called. So
Yes, sir.
what's the, say the easiest, but what's the most practical way of enforcing this thing? And making it stick if you have to.
I think we've got something really good here in front of us, you know, after
Talking about
tweaking it.
this?
No, what they've got here, after doing all the tweaking and everything, I think we've really got it.
Chief, what level of enforcement does this new version provide that the current ordinance does not for vehicles specifically?
Specifically, vehicles, it says any sound measured from 75 decibels, but it also specifically talks about cars, the use of a motor vehicle in a manner which emits loud and unseemly noise which disturbs any residence, neighborhood, and or business. I think that's a great addition to that. And as you'll recall too, not just was it a streamlining, but it was a streamlining for clarification for citizens so they know where to stand, and the officers as well,
Understood.
so they can provide enforcement. But we can certainly do what you've asked.
Yeah, but we have it in here, the 75 decibels. It doesn't say property line.
Mhm.
Oh, it does in the first part, but that down here under 8,
8.
that's amplified music, which is played in the nighttime district
Mhm.
between 10 and 1. Is that from the property line or the actual source? What is that?
It talks about it's bounded, and it talks exactly about the boundaries. This is almost verbatim from the original.
So if you were going to enforce it at 75 decibels, would you be right at the door? Or the
It'd be from the boundary line.
boundary line? Okay. I just want to make it very clear that that's like the other part up in 1 and 2, it does say measured from the property line.
Yes.
And the one down in 8 just says exceeds 75 decibels, which
Yes,
is
and-
played in the district. But I mean, that,
Yes.
the boundary line of the district, is that what you're looking
Yes,
at?
that's what
Okay,
I'm saying,
okay.
sir. And please keep in mind too, you know, our goal is a pleasant experience for everyone, right? People that love to listen to music should be able to do that, but also residents and citizens and visitors and tourists should be able, you know, to enjoy themselves as well. So our first goal is generally a warning. We've talked about it before. Hey, turn your sound down. Sometimes that works. Sometimes it doesn't. And so when it doesn't, we need something to back that up.
Just tell them I don't want to have to come back.
We don't say it like that, sir.
I know.
Okay.
And I'll tell you this, because I have my decimal meter app on my phone, and I'd like to think that it's pretty accurate. But anyway, I played around and I put the radio in my backyard and turned it up just to see how loud it would have to be in order for my app to read 75 decibels at my property line, the front of my property line by the road there. And it is very loud. So I think that 75 decibels is an appropriate number for sure. I was a little bit hesitant at that first, but you learn as you go. And the more that I've seen how loud 75 decibels is, I think that we're on to something here. I don't know that there's a good reason for 1 and 2. Again, I've said this before. 1 says any sound made that exceeds 75 decibels, and 2 says amplified music that exceeds 75 decibels. And I think that amplified music would be considered a sound. And so therefore, I don't think that there's value in having that. If we were to keep this ordinance as it is, which sounds like we're going to work on it a little bit, I would strike 2, and that's where I would build in my nighttime hours. Anything that exceeds 60 decibels or whatever it is after 10 p.m. is prohibited. And so I think that would probably be a good placeholder for the delineation between the quiet hours and just your during the day.
Anyone else?
Good.
I'm kind of good with that. But we got to have the nighttime hours. I think that's absolutely critical.
Copy, got you.
And I would agree with Josh that any sound kind of takes care of the amplified music.
You can always combine 1 and 2 and put and or.
Mitchell, anything? Okay. Everybody else good?
Okay.
All right, thank
good.
you so much.
All right.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, now I'm going to turn it to Councilman Lipsitz. You have
Okay.
something you want to say?
Thank you. Yes, I do. At this time, pursuant to Title 30, Chapter 4, Section 70A1 of the South Carolina Code of Law, discussion regarding personnel appointed by City Council, boards, commissions, and committees, and Downtown Advisory Board. I'd like to make a motion, we go into executive session.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, have a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.